Hey, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope everybody is having a wonderful Sunday morning. And if it isn't wonderful yet, it will be shortly. We have two people who are purveyors of amazing coins and relics from a company that you all have heard a lot about, Harlan J. Berk, the oldest coin company in the United States. They are um, Russ Bega and Mike Nottelmann. Hi, guys. How you doing?
Okay, get out of here. We're going to push him over into the corner. This is going to be the least hostile takeover of somebody's show you've ever seen. But me and
Of
Russ
all
decided
time.
to come in here and just kind of give you the floor show that you
Uh,
get at Harlan Burke
Russ Bega.
because I miss doing it with him. He's stuck in the back office for God knows how long now. And, since he got promoted, it always happens when they get promoted. And I'm stuck outside in the front. So he doesn't come out to play with me very much. And we figured that we would come here and do that.
Well, I am
Absolutely.
looking forward to this, guys. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. So I am going to jump to this side. I'm going to monitor chat, say hi to everybody, do the quick pleasantries, and I'm just going to turn it over to you. So,
So one thing I'm going to need you for, Frosty, is if Russ wants to access any of those pictures,
I'll
because
let you
it's
drive with the pictures, and I will just
well
jump
that
in.
that's kind of the thing is he's got. I figured that if we start talking about something, he's got all those pictures.
Ah,
and
fair.
I have
So
them all up and ready to go.
he does too. So
All right.
yesterday, we went through a bunch of really cool things. So let's do this. Let's reset. So my name is Mike Nottelmann. I am a numismatist at Harlan J. Berk in Chicago, Illinois. We are not the oldest coin company. We are the oldest coin store. The store has been a shop since the 1940s and continues to be to this day. It's located in between the the actual church and the outside walls of the Chicago Temple building at the corner of Washington and Clark Street in Chicago. It's a pretty historic site. And like I said, it's been a coin shop since 1940, and it has been three different coin shops. We took it over in 1989. And when Stax moved last year, it became the oldest shop in the United States. So Russ came to us 4 years ago, five.
Uh, going on 4 right now. Yep.
Okay, going on 4 years ago. And Russ was tasked with re shaping Harlan Burke and putting it more into just bringing it into the 21st century. Aaron Burke hired me and Russ, and when he hired me, he just needed a body. He needed somebody to fill. But he saw through my enthusiasm and what I do that there were some other things that we could do. When Russ came along, it was a perfect fit. And then Russ actually found somebody else that I think is pretty much our equal in
Oh yeah.
Zach. I mean, forget about Manny. And Manny is he's phenomenal, but Zach is amazing with ancient coins. And I mean, you could throw stuff at him, kind of like you could throw at me or Russ,
Yep.
and he'll just sit there and just bore you to death with stuff
Oh
you
yeah.
need.
Yeah. So I'll give my quick little spiel. So Russ Bega, not an alcoholic, just a coinaholic. So
Hi,
yeah,
Russ.
I joined the HJB team about 4 years ago. After a career in the army and some other things, I've been a collector since I'm about 8 years old. I started collecting. I worked for Heritage Auctions at one point for a little while. Wasn't for me. But yeah, I'm a U.S. coin guy. So my particular bailiwick is early U.S., like 1792 to about 1891 or so. And my true real love is Liberty seated coins. So that's what I focus on in my personal collection when I actually buy personal coins, which is almost never.
So,
And
Russ,
that kind of dovetails into my era of knowledge, which is kind of like from the Civil War out.
Yep.
So it's
so
really nice. The two of us complement each other really well. We're always teaching each other. We're always learning from each other.
Always.
And with some of the stuff that we get, it's an eye-opening experience for two people that didn't really do coins for the longest time.
Yeah.
So, Russ, I gave Frosty a bunch of pictures.
Yep.
Yesterday we did the Civil War set.
Oh, that's a fun
We
one.
did the 1797 10.
Okay.
And I talked about I only mentioned the 1907 wire rim because it was a picture that we stopped on.
Okay.
But out of yeah, and then last night on the Coin Show podcast, we had as my coolest thing the pattern 63
nice
half that we just took in.
Yep, that is on its way to PCGS right this very second.
So you guys actually already have
a recap. Why don't you give them a recap of that 63 pattern?
Yeah, sure. I'll go real quick, and then we'll let Frosty get a word in edgewise. So yeah, essentially, Mike was working a deal on the counter. He calls me out. Generally, if there's something Liberty seated, I get called out because they know I'm going to want to see it anyway. And it was, a AU-ish 1863 half. Run back to my desk, kind of look up, seeing what auction results, things like that, seeing what I can actually pay for it. So I run out to Mike and I give him a number and I walk back to my desk. And
did you get all the way to your desk?
I did. I actually sat back down. So I sat back down at my desk, and as I'm sitting down at my desk, it takes about 30 seconds or a minute. And I'm going to myself, there's something wrong about this coin. There's something that I can't figure out. Like something just hit me like a ton of bricks. So I run back out and I, grab it and I turn it over, and the eagle eye among you may notice that there is something a little bit extra on the back of that coin for an 1863 half. So you'll see the In God We Trust, which was not added to actual Liberty seated half dollars for circulation until 1866. This is what Judd refers to as a transitional pattern. And to be really honest, it's not actually a pattern. These were made during the 1870s when the mint was a lot looser in what they would do. And these were essentially special made for collectors, for certain collectors. There are currently 9 known in the census. So this is going to be the 10th one, it looks like. So pretty neat. Definitely not something I was expecting that day.
Yeah, wasn't the mintage number that we found for them supposed to be like 12?
It's like 12 or something. There's like 9 of them known in silver, a couple in copper, and one in aluminum of all things.
Yeah, white metal.
Yep. So my guess is there were probably between 15 and 20 silver examples struck. But, that's all conjecture, especially with, the mint, the Longacre mint at this time, just kind of doing whatever they want to do.
Yes, that's what they do.
Uh-huh.
So you have got one request to talk about one very specific coin, and I'll get to that one here.
Okay.
This was Jack Riley. Now, Jack Riley said, there is a very specific coin that I want you to talk about, and you know exactly what I'm going to.
Ooh, are you? Maybe.
Oh, we did the die cap too. That was the other.
Oh, nice. That's such a cool
that
coin.
thing was, yeah.
And I didn't even get to the best part about it is that that somebody just couldn't put it down and they broke it. Oh, yeah. I guess maybe I did mention it.
All right. So this is a coin that is unbelievably cool. And there's actually more information coming out about this fairly soon. But essentially, we have a good friend of the Coin Show podcast who came into the shop, and he hands this over the counter to us, and he goes, "What do you make of this?" Essentially, and he had some documentation. This is a fake quarter. It's completely spurious. It is not real. But what's interesting is the documentation that he had was from the Secret Service, or at least it was. It referenced the Secret Service, and the Secret Service in 1986 examined 16 rolls of these quarters and determined them to be genuine. But they are absolutely not genuine. They are actually they're close to 97% silver. And they have some traces of some other things that you wouldn't normally see, like palladium. And there's some other diagnostics in there. There's some tooling in the B and some other really nerdy things. The reading is wrong, things like that. But they're very, very good fakes. So
Very good face.
very good fakes. So we did a bunch of research on it. We reached out to Skip Fazeri, and Skip essentially was like, "Oh yeah, those have been known about since the '80s," but essentially everybody kind of forgot about them. So I ended up writing an article in the Numismatist for the August issue. It was the cover story, and about a week after that story hit, I had a gentleman call me, and the guy says, essentially, I was a dealer in Illinois. I retired to Arizona about 10 years ago, and I've got like 6 rolls of those in my safe. So we talk for a little bit, and he goes, "Oh yeah, and I have the original Secret Service documentation." So he ends up sending me the original Secret Service documentation from 1986, which we only had reference to. We didn't actually have. So we have that now, and he also sent a new example. So I have a new example now. So there is more stuff coming about it. I've consulted with a few people I really trust, like a guy named Winston Zach. Winston is the foremost expert on contemporary counterfeits, all around good egg. Daniel Carr, who knows more about minting than I can even fathom, has examined it, and we've talked a little bit about it. So there's some more stuff coming out, but it's a super neat coin, and it's just one of those things that kind of goes to show that you kind of you have to keep asking questions in this hobby, because things get forgotten, things get pushed to the wayside. So it was just a really great time.
Well, the back and forth discussion between you and me on it.
Oh yeah. We definitely went through that.
We went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on this coin.
Mhm.
And then we finally decided, and this was the definitive thing, was we have technology now that they didn't have then.
Yep. Yeah.
Let's use it.
Yeah, and that was kind of the interesting part, is that the Secret Service documentation doesn't really say much. It says that essentially the wording is something along the lines of laboratory tests were done to confirm that they're genuine. So I don't know what laboratory tests they would have done, especially when we know it's got such a higher silver content. But the Secret Service just didn't want to deal with it. So, and that's the other really interesting part, is how many of these things are still out there now.
Yeah, but
So
Russ,
I
correct
know.
me if I'm wrong, but that's not uncommon.
What's that? Oh, the Secret Service? Not.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, we know that from practice. They
Yes.
come into our store and asked us if coins were genuine. And
Yeah.
they weren't even close.
No. The Secret Service does a phenomenal job in a lot of ways. But they are concerned with the circulating money supply. They are concerned chiefly with making sure that our circulating money supply is safe, secure, all those things. So they don't necessarily, it's not that they don't care, but they have bigger fish to fry, and also, they don't have a whole lot of numismatists on staff. But maybe they should, because they might be able to do some things.
Well,
Yeah.
at least they know to ask. I'll
Yes,
give them
exactly.
And Jack Young says that we continue to find forgotten counterfeit. So
Oh yes,
Yeah,
Jack
and like I
is the
said,
master of
this
that.
one was so good and it's so close that it fools experts until you do an XRF study on it. When you do an XRF study on it, then you find out, there's palladium in it.
Russ, what's the diagnostic on this other than the metal content?
So there's some tooling around the B and Liberty. There is also some other tooling on the reverse in some other spots. I wish I got a good picture of the reeds. The reeds are
'cause the reeds are
completely
wrong.
wrong. They're completely
They're
wrong. Yeah. So if you look at the B, kind of they're these. You can't see them great on here, but you get some die lines in here. The other part is the weakness in the reverse. This coin in hand, I mean, it's so gemmy. It looks so good. And it looks so weakly struck in certain spots. So there's a few things with it. But at one point we thought, maybe maybe they're, working with die pressure, or maybe they're working with a new hub, or maybe they're, trying to figure out if they're going to do proofs in 36. So there were a few options we really considered before we really were able to get the research done and figure out that it was just counterfeit. And now the question is, what kind of counterfeit is it? Is this a contemporary counterfeit that was meant to be passed over the counter? Or were these made sometime between the 60s and 80s to essentially, bilk collectors? I have a hard time seeing them as contemporary counterfeits, and I I have gotten some feedback. Essentially, half of the people that have read my article agree with me. The other half absolutely disagree with me. So I have absolutely no idea what the actual answer is, but it's something that we are going to work at and see if we can find out.
But that tells you you're onto something.
Exactly.
So yeah, we've talked to a few people about it. The thing with this one is the reading also, it just isn't right.
Yeah.
It was the one thing that I called out, was that the reading was incorrect. It just didn't look right. It's the wrong reading. And yet the edges were chamfered. It seemed like it was a proof strike with either a weak strike. It just had those kind of, things that don't work.
Yes, very much so. Just there were too many things that did not make sense, essentially.
Together.
Exactly.
Right. In a vacuum they'd be fine, but together they didn't make sense.
Exactly.
Well, Jack Riley and Jack Young both say that if you end up with a couple extra of these, that
I know some homes for them.
Well, it's like, trust me, he's already been looking down the nose of, somebody who works with him, namely me, saying, "Hey, dude," it's like, but me and Russ are really good at sharing things.
Oh yes, this one, yeah. So the example we have now, it's going to get slabbed by ICG at some point. That's a project that I've been it's on the back burner at the moment. Yeah, I'm going to do a counterfeit slab. We have a pretty extensive black cabinet of fakes. That what I'd like to do essentially is get them slabbed by ICG and turn them into teaching tools that we can send to coin clubs and things like that. Because especially with counterfeits, the really only way to learn what a counterfeit looks like is to look at a lot of them.
right.
So,
and it's our constant mission to get rid of counterfeit coins and take them out of circulation and
yep,
keep them out of the hobby.
very much so.
So, okay, let me ask you a question, Russ. In the 4 years you've been there, what has been your favorite interaction with the customer?
Oof, man. Ooh, there's been more than a few. Let's see. Do you have that Masonic half image?
I do.
Okay. That's a fun story.
There's a half in there. There's a seated half that has graffiti on the front of it.
Yep, I've seen that.
So one of the things, so like when we get pent up in our numismatic rant or whatever it is that makes us want to teach people, when we get all caught up in that, I do podcasts. Russ likes to write.
Yep.
And so Russ has written a lot of articles, and I've done a lot of videos and podcasts and stuff like that. This actually was one of the cooler stories.
Yeah, it's just a really neat story. So let's see. Yep. Getting there. Oh, one more up, maybe. There it is. Okay. So essentially, gentleman walks into the shop and he goes, I got your name from Len Osberger with the Liberty Seated Collectors Club, blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. So I came in and he pulls this out of his pocket. It was wrapped up in some tissue paper. And I looked at it and I was like, that's one of the neatest things I've ever seen in my life. I've never heard of it. And so I end up doing some of the research on it. But essentially this half, this is an 1864 Liberty Seated half dollar. And in Boston, Mass, on April the 6th of 1864, the Masonic temple burned to the ground. It burned so intensely that all of the ceremonial, silver and all that stuff was melted. I mean, it was gone. And so what they did, the Masons got together, they recovered all of the ceremonial silver, and somehow they talked the mint in Philadelphia into striking them a number of 1864 dated half dollars. And then they got this really, really, really good engraving done. Essentially, if I remember right, they were like $2 a piece, and the funds went to help rebuild the temple. So this is from a gentleman. This was a gentleman named William Bogle's coin. He was a fairly prominent politician in Mass, and also obviously a Mason. So this was his. And what is super neat about it is there's only about 12 of these that are out there right now. I do know that more exist, but there's only about 12 that have actually been recorded. So it was another thing that we got to add to the census, which was really neat. But the most interesting part, I think, about the interaction itself was, essentially, I asked my client, I go, where did you even get this? And he goes, well, about 18 years ago, I was working in McDonald's and somebody came in with a handful of change. They spent this as a quarter. I looked at it. I thought, that's different. I put a quarter in the till. I put it in my pocket, and it's been sitting on my, essentially it's been sitting in my closet for the last, 18 years. And he goes, I'm getting married and I want to take my new wife on a good honeymoon. And so what we ended up doing is we got this certified. This was certified AU details cleaned, which is very ticky-tacky, and I'm still mad at PCGS about it because it was a pocket piece, and we can get into the semantics of that. But this went to Stax Bowers, and if I remember right, I think it brought somewhere in the neighborhood of 6,000 hammer. So super fun coin and just a really neat story. I mean, how amazing is it to get something like that and change?
And something to realize about this coin is that it's in 1864, so it's in the
Yes.
middle of the Civil War when the United States Mint had suspended specie payments. So normally, where you could walk into the mint, you could have your silver or gold coined. You could not during this time, so he really had to know somebody.
Yeah, and that was the really interesting part too. And Civil War dated stuff is generally a better date coin anyway. So, an 1864 half is already a better coin. So this is just such a special one because, we know that this was made from a very specific silver source. And then the other part too is obviously the engraving. The engraving is so good that there has been nobody knows exactly who engraved them. Philadelphia had tremendous engravers and jewelers and things, but also Boston did. So there has been some, I don't want to say speculation, but some thought that the engraving is so fine that it even could have been possibly done at the mint. So it's just one of those really interesting things. It's a to me it's a mint product straight through and through. But it's exonumia and it's just so many weird, interesting things.
I'll tell you what. Looking at the name William Bogle as it's engraved in there,
Mm-hmm.
it would seem to me the way the bottom of the G disappears into the device
Yeah.
that it may have been engraved into the die, but that would be really stupid because that
Yes.
would be one per die.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know it didn't happen that way,
But
but
it darn sure looks like it.
it does. So that is something that walked in off the street and just kind of this is the kind of stuff that we deal with on a daily basis. To be able to handle this kind of stuff, you just have to have a general basic knowledge of things because you're gonna get it over your head in something anyway, and you'll learn.
Honestly, what I say is just like what I say, to my kiddo. It does not matter if you know the answer. What matters is you can find the answer and you can interpret the information. And that's
That
what's
was advice.
yeah, I mean, and that's really true because, it's funny. We get put into these boxes a lot of times of, oh, well, they're an expert, this, that, and the other thing. But to be really honest, half the time it's just, researching and using your instincts and finding that answer. Knowing where to go with it, or, in our case a lot, knowing who to go to, you know, being able to reach out into the community and have those connections. And if I don't know the answer, I know someone that does.
And I'll
Yep,
tell you
that's my
what,
mission.
very, very.
That's yep.
Go ahead, Frost.
No, I just said that's exactly my mission. I can't learn everything. It's impossible for me to do. And so what I have done is really work on finding out those people who know how to get the answers, right? And so that
Well, one of
is
the
way
things
more
is,
important than trying to figure out all the information yourself.
yeah, one of the things that's been great in my quest for doing the same thing is that, I say I work for Harlan Berk, and I use that man's name like a crowbar.
Oh yeah.
And I'm actually not shy, so it has gotten me in a lot of doors that I probably wouldn't have gotten in on my own.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the other big part of like this industry too is even if you're just a collector, like honestly, if you're at a show and you see some of these big guys that you've read about or you've read articles from or you've seen online or things like that, you know, 9 out of 10 of them will be absolutely happy to shake your hand and have a couple words with you. Some will absolutely talk your ear off. There are
Yes.
dealers there are dealers in here that are titans of our industry that I have watched, have a 20 or 30-minute conversation with, a 12 or 13-year-old young collector or, someone that just wanders up to their table. So that's the other big thing that I try to really impress on collectors, new collectors especially though. Don't be shy. This is a social hobby, and it is what you make of it.
Something just struck me, Russ, and I'm going to give you a compliment
Oh,
because the person you remind me of the most is
okay.
John Kralovich.
I have been told that by a couple people, and that is a very, very high honor. So
It
I will
is,
gladly
because
accept it.
John's an awesome dude. He is like the most personable man you've ever met.
A
Uh,
tremendous researcher.
yeah, and just he knows about everything too.
Oh yeah, yeah. What else do you got in your bag of goodies in there?
Well,
Well,
there's a question
here
in
we got a
chat that I want to
question.
get to before you move on, if
Okay,
I
yeah,
can.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How often do employees at Harlan J. Burke buy for their own collection?
So personally, yeah, personally, I have bought one coin in the last 2 years I've worked there. I generally
But what a
try.
coin.
Yes, what a coin. So it's an 1861 O half dollar that was sold at one point by BMax Mel. I have the original envelope and the whole kit and caboodle. It's pedigreed to BMax Mel. It's one of my most prized possessions. But I try not to buy a lot of coins from our stock because, I need to have something to sell customers and I don't want to ever take away from a customer. I will admit that when I saw this coin, that went straight out of my mind. So it does happen occasionally. But to be really honest, we work with such good stuff all the time that it's hard to buy personal coins sometimes. And I
Okay,
know
and
you
I'm
feel the
glad
same
that
way.
yes, and I'm glad that Frosty lit on this coin
There we go.
because this came from that same deal. BMax Mel, that deal was something. It's
Oh,
like I
it's
talked about it
amazing.
yesterday in the backpack and all that stuff. But this coin was one that you found.
Yeah, yeah. So we were all sitting at the conference table, just opening envelopes, being gobsmacked. And
Every single coin.
every single coin. And so I pick up this envelope, and I didn't read the St. Gaudens. All I read was $20, and then I saw 1907. So I was like, oh, okay, it's going to be a lib. And then you open it, and you're like, oh, holy crap, that's a high relief. It's an AU high relief, but any high relief is something I generally want to see. But what always floored me was the price. $25 bought out of catalog or sale. It was lot 2068. And what's great too is that we actually found the catalog that this sale or that this coin was in 1915. So we actually were able to give our client a printout of the catalog description from BMax Mel. So it's just super cool, super cool.
Yeah, and to so I mean the coin is exceptional in and of itself. And looking at it in a slab, that's kind of how we see it in its new environment, right?
Yeah,
But to pull something like that raw out of an
yeah,
envelope, not really know what it was supposed to be.
exactly.
That's the thing.
Let's see.
Vote for Pedro says bin 25.
Yeah, he'll buy it now.
Yep. Sorry,
$1, Bob.
sorry. We got to make at least $5. It's got to be 30.
Yeah, you're missing a few zeros on that though.
Yeah, I mean that whole collection still floors me, man. It was
So
some of the coolest stuff.
Azure Blue has asked, what does wire ridge mean?
Okay, so yeah, essentially they did high reliefs in two different ways. There's wire edges and there's essentially like I don't remember if
It's
they
a
call it
normal rim.
yeah, like yeah, exactly. The wire edge is it is so weird and hard to explain, to be very
It's
honest.
very thin.
Yes, it's
It's
just very
super thin. It doesn't really have what we would consider to be a rim.
yeah.
The rim is just super thin, and it's beautiful, but it doesn't really give it. It doesn't lend itself well to minting, nor does the high relief design.
No,
They're
exactly,
not
which
good
is
for die life. They're not good for minting. They're not good for any of that stuff. So they figured that out. They made these coins. They're beautiful. There are people that paid good money for them then. Will pay even huge money for them now.
oh yeah.
But when it came down to the practical making of a $20 St. Gaudens, they had to lower the relief and
Yeah, they
make
had to do too much.
they'd do a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah.
And folks, make sure you're smashing that like. Let Russ and Mike know that you appreciate them being here. I would greatly appreciate. What other
So
goodies you guys
Eric
want to talk
Bidas says,
about?
I just want the envelope. And I will tell you that I bought a coin out of that deal specifically so I could have something from BMax Mel. I mean, I really don't collect French 5 francs, but it's a big silver coin and it has Napoleon on it. And it has a big BMax Mel envelope. So that was something I had to have.
Let's see. Did you talk about at all yesterday? Did you talk about the deal of 500s and thousands?
No.
Okay, that's a good story.
Okay. So there's a pile of $500 and $1,000 bills.
Yeah, you go back up. Go back up. Frosty was up.
Right there.
No, that was keep going. Bam, right there. Go back down to your left. Right there.
Right there.
Right there. So this was a really neat deal. This is 55.
And a lesson in life.
Yeah, and a lesson in life. This is 55 $500 bills and 10 $1,000 bills. The story essentially goes: we had a woman walk in, and she's got a backpack on, and she goes, essentially, "Do you guys buy currency?" We go, "Yeah," and she goes, "Okay, so I just inherited this safety deposit box from my great uncle, and it was full of cash. I took it to the teller at my bank, and my teller looked at me and said, 'Please don't give this to me,' and gave me your guys' name. So now I'm here." And so Mike and I are kind of looking at each other and we're like, okay, let's see what's there. So I was expecting, I don't know, a few bills or something, but no, she proceeds to produce 55 $500 bills and 10 $1,000 bills. So we end up buying, we buy everything. She's quite happy. But it was the parting shot that did it for me. As she's walking out the door, she goes, "My sister's going to be really mad she didn't listen." Her sister deposited all of that cash in the bank. And don't know if you know the tragedy that anytime a bank gets a hold of high denomination bills like this, they're required to turn them into the Fed for destruction. So we had, $55 bills were pulped because of that. But she also, literally lost 40 or $50,000 in value.
Oh.
Exactly. I mean, so that was the big pain. And that's why, a lot of people come in and they'll come in and they'll have something and they'll get kind of sheepish when you tell them it's not really worth anything. And you'll get one of those, well, I wanted to ask, I didn't know. And it's always like that. It's better to ask always than, make a crazy mistake like that. It just, you can't do it.
No. And it did nothing to the population of any of these bills either.
Exactly.
Didn't even make them more valuable.
Nope. There are plenty of them, but man, I do love 500s.
Yeah.
What would one of these run if somebody was interested in getting one?
If you get like a VF XFE note, you're probably going to pay, what do you think, Mike, in the neighborhood of $2 to $2,250?
VFXFE, yeah, probably in there, but you're going to get a nice VF, low end VF, note in the $1,200 to $1,500 range.
Yeah, they're not obnoxiously expensive. They've come down.
It just depends on how beat you're willing to accept.
Exactly. And that's the thing. If you're willing to take a kind of a ratty one, you can even get them for under $1,000 if you don't really particularly care about condition.
Well, it's like the $1,000 bill that I sold Friday.
Yep.
It was ratty, it was beat, and I guarantee it's the only one that anybody's going to ever buy for under $2,000. It just doesn't happen.
Yep, you just don't
see
see
it for $1,600, and the guy was very happy. And
yep.
Hey,
but
Mike,
he did ask me for a discount, and I told him no.
We have somebody you might know that just showed up in the vertical stream.
Really?
He would be the Coin Show podcast, the other half.
Hey!
What's up,
it's my
Matt?
better 2/3.
What's up, brother man?
Good to see you.
I was on him last night saying, you got to come and check this out. You just got to check this out. And he had some stuff that he had to do this morning, but he said he might come in and he might tune in.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good to see you, bud. Up at the top, if you want to come over to the other side, there is a link pinned up at the top, and that's for the vertical stream. So if you want to see this in vertical mode, you can stay where you're at. But if you want to see this in landscape mode, you can go on the link.
All right, I picked the last one, so you got to go, Mike.
Well, what I was going to ask you is there a customer, any specific customer that jumps out at you? That we can talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's varying reasons.
Yes. I don't even know so much. See, that's the problem is it's not that I don't, I love people. I love talking to people. But with this stuff, it's like I fixate so much on the object anymore, of what they're bringing me. We've had some really interesting clients. We've had,
What about Andy?
Oh, yeah, Andy. Yeah. We have a really good friend, Andy, who loves buying all the weird, crazy ancients. Everything. He's what we call a shotgun connoisseur. He likes a little bit of everything.
Not that he's a connoisseur of shotguns.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I don't know, man. I'm trying to think what else is there. There's so many. I mean, look at the folder. I mean, it's just chock full, and that's the thing.
Just for the record, Paula is correcting us that wire rim and wire edge are not the same.
Yes.
And we were speaking generally, Paula, but she's correct.
She is correct. Oh, let's see. Oh, what was on there I was going to do? Man, there was something that just jumped out at me. Oh, how about there's a kilo gold bar in there.
The one or the many?
The one. The one is a neat story. He was an interesting customer.
I don't know if I have a picture of that one.
Oh, I thought I saw it. Darn.
No, but tell that story.
Okay, yeah. So we had a guy come in,
Holy cow. Hold on. Before you do this, Matt just dropped 20 gifted memberships.
Jeez.
So Greg Freeman,
attaboy, Luther.
Greenwood, Stinky Slinky, that's or Silver Slinky, not Stinky Slinky. Richard Milcalf, Archangel, Nick, Coins and Ghouls, Dimebag, Tony Two-Tone, Silver Journey, Harvey Area, Scott S, Lola Davis, Swamp Dog. Y'all, please tell Coin Show Podcast, thank you so much for the 20 gifted memberships. Y'all rock. I appreciate all your support. That was awesome. I needed to. It's going to ding, ding, ding for a little while, but thanks so much, Matt. I appreciate you, brother.
He's a good guy.
Good egg. But I'll tell the story real quickly, and then I actually would want to talk about the $70 dollar after that.
Yes.
But so essentially, we had a guy come in with a kilo gold bar. And what was interesting about it, it wasn't like one of these. This is a commercial. This is a commercial kilo bar. These are made now. They're made for investing, all those fun things. But what this guy produced out of his pocket was a Soviet state bar, a literal piece of Soviet gold. It was a kilo bar, and so he had to be getting close to in his 70s, and so I'm obviously curious as hell. Where did this thing come from? And he goes,
well, I want to make one comment because he produced a kilo Soviet bar and the requisite paranoia that went with it.
Yes, he had the paranoia that went with it, but he was he essentially told us that his father was an official in Hungary, and when the uprising happened in 55? Yeah. His dad stuck 4 of them in his pocket and they fled. So I got to buy a Soviet kilo bar, which unfortunately with how high the price of gold is and all those things, there wasn't much of a premium on it, but it was kind of surreal to have, this hammer and sickle gold bar in front of me.
Yeah. I mean, it says CCC. Well, it's not CCP, but
the CCCP. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It was just so cool.
It was a very neat one.
Yeah, I don't see the image in there, but
yeah, I thought it was in there, but it's not. But it doesn't. Really.
And he was absolutely freaked out about it.
Oh yeah, very much. So since we actually just launched this coin, this will be a fun one to talk about.
And here's the thing. So last night on the Coin Show podcast, we did the coolest thing.
Yep.
If you can go over to our Facebook page, Friends of the Coin Show podcast. If you need to join, there will be a poll saying who had the cooler thing. I will show you if you go and look there that I did not pull this one.
There you go.
Okay. I let this one be because this is a monster.
It is a monster. So I'll back up a little bit. The coinage of 1870 struck in San Francisco is kind of one of the greatest and weirdest mysteries in U.S. numismatics. Essentially, they were laying the cornerstone for the new mint, and they wanted to put one of each denomination in the cornerstone. Well, they did not strike officially in San Francisco that year $3 gold pieces, half dimes, quarters, or dollars. And in the 1920s, so remember, these have an official mintage of 0, but the mint director in his report said that they struck one of each for the cornerstone. So in 1914, an 1870s dollar shows up at an ANA show, and everybody oohs and ahs over it. And, everybody thinks this has to be the cornerstone coin. And then a few years later, another one shows up, and then another one, and then another one. And we are currently at a population somewhere of about a dozen 1870s dollars. There is only one 1870s 3. There also is only one 1870s half dime that have ever come up. And one of the cool things is the 70s half dime actually came through our shop while it was rare Koa in the 70s. So there have been 2 tremendous 1870s rarities in our shop at not one time, but at least cumulatively. Um, and so it's just such a neat coin. And the one that we have right now is the FCC Boyd coin. And what's really special about it is it was actually the first 1870s dollar to be sold at auction. It was sold in 1926, and the gentleman that bought it then wrote his initials on the coin. And sometime between 1926 and 1945, when the coin was sold again, it was smoothed out. They removed the graffiti, and they did some unfortunate things to it. I would have preferred if they just kept the daggone graffiti on it, because I think that would have been neater. But it is super, super important, just from a numismatic historical standpoint, because it was the first 1870s dollar to actually be sold at auction. So it's just a super neat coin. There it is right there. It's just a super, super neat coin. Even with, some funky stuff going on. And it's just one of the greatest mysteries. Nobody knows. What I find fascinating is, we have examples of the $3 gold piece, the half dime, the dollar, but we don't have a quarter. We don't have a quarter. And that's the only thing that keeps me from thinking that somebody broke into the cornerstone. But I mean, where did the other ones come from? Then again, we just saw a pattern, a quote unquote pattern half dollar that was made via mint shenanigans around this time too. So it's not surprising that more were made, but it's just one of those really interesting mysteries that keeps a guy like me up at night.
And this is where you kind of chase your own mystery on it, because it is well known that the San Francisco earthquake in 1906 caused a lot of damage, and they honestly think that that's where the cornerstone was lost.
Yeah.
It was during that earthquake. It was broached or breached, whatever way you want to say it. And the thing is if the coins went into the ground, nobody's been digging on the mint site.
Exactly.
So they would not have been found, and these coins would be extra.
Yep. So, and the $3 gold piece particularly is really interesting because the mint mark is hand done. It's like hand engraved. It's very weird. It is like no other S mint mark that exists. So just a really, really neat mystery, really fun thing.
Did you explain the tooling, what they said?
Yeah, so essentially, they tooled it to remove the graffiti and things like that. So it's now in a VF details holder, which I think is a little ticky tacky.
A little.
Well, I mean, look at the reverse, man. The reverse has such amazing detail. That's like darn near like that's XF detail all day long, pushing AU detail.
I agree.
But at the end of the day, it is semantics, right? Because it is what it is. It is a damaged coin at the end of the day. It is just a really, really, really rare and cool damaged coin. So a grade doesn't necessarily make it or anything. No one is buying, no one's looking at this and going, oh, well, if it was XF details, I'd buy it. But I'm not going to buy it now that I know it's VF details. So, but that's the grading services. We fight sometimes.
Jack Young was asking if we have seen any U.S. counterfeits over the counter, and it's like, yes. I mean, we see a fair amount of seated dollars,
Yeah.
silver eagles. I mean, a bunch of stuff. We tend to now we offer the service in the store where if you have a counterfeit coin and you want to keep it, you bring it to us and we will stamp it with copy to make it legal to own.
Yep.
So that's a free service that we offer at HJB.
Yeah. But yeah, we do get we get a fair amount of counterfeits over the counter. It's usually people that have inherited something, or they've found a box of things. It's almost never malicious.
Right.
Most of the time it's just people that found a thing. We have had a couple. There have definitely been people that come in that you're like, I know you're trying to pass this on me. And I know you're going to go down the street and try to pass it on somebody else. But it happens occasionally, even look, nobody is perfect. Even we occasionally mess up. And, I
Yeah.
bought, I've bought over the counter probably 5 or 6 Lebanese fake 5 Indians. They're
They
so
look
ubiquitous.
really good.
Yeah, they're so ubiquitous. You look at it, and even at the end of the day, as long as I'm buying it right, it's still good gold. So I can't get burned too much. But there's plenty of that stuff that still is floating out there for sure.
What's next?
Oh,
Let's see. How about let me see the pics. We'll just grab something random. And
Okay.
we did the CSA yesterday.
I love that set.
I know that was the first thing we did. It just, you know how that works.
Yep. It's just a cool story, man.
Scroll down a little bit. Let me see what's going on there. We've got
And you know what? I want to say
was there
something
anything
real
that
quick.
walked in, Russ? Go ahead, Sal. I'm sorry.
That's okay. One thing that I like about this is I like the fact that you show the third side of the coin. A lot of people forget to look at the
Yes.
edge of the coin. So when I go through here, it's nice to see the one thing that Russ that we were missing in the quarter. And Jack
With
sent me
that
some
edge.
diagrams.
Yep.
It was that edge.
Yep.
That would be a good one to add to this collection. But
Absolutely. Oh, here's a
I
good
like
one.
seeing that here.
A little bit further up, there is a silver bar. Right there, that guy. Yeah, that's a fun one.
Yeah, that
yeah.
was something I had no idea.
Yeah, it's super neat, man. So essentially, this is a U.S. assay office silver bar, and they started making these in the 30s. Like Mike talked about a little bit earlier. At one point you could go to the mint and turn your silver into coin. In San Francisco, you could kind of do the opposite, and you could take silver to get burned into lots and put into these ingots. So these ingots are pretty scarce, pretty darn rare. This is a lower lot number. The 210 isn't a serial number; it's actually a lot number. So essentially, this bar is like 5.85 ounces. And so they're all weird different weights. You get big ones, you get small ones, but there's a lot of them are in the kind of 5 ounce ish area. But they're pretty darn rare, and it's just super neat. You don't see them a lot, and when they come up, they are expensive. I sold this one for $4,500 at the Oklahoma A&A for
Ooh.
5.47 ounces of silver.
But the serial number on it is
210. It's a low lot number. It's a low lot number. So it's a really neat one. I never really I kind of fell into the quote unquote better bullion space. Very much by accident. Just talking to guys like T the Silver Stacker, who's a good friend and essentially neighbor of mine. And he kind of turned me on to people really do collect vintage bullion, and it turned into a little bit of a side hustle, I guess, for us at the shop. And we've had some good luck with some things. We found some really neat things. We've had crazy 3-ounce Engelhard bars. We had a hoard of what they call blood bars from B.R. McKay and Son. I think we had like 50 of them. It was one of the bigger hoards that came out. So
Yeah,
why
I
don't you
love the
tell the
story of
story
the
about
blood
that?
bar. Yeah, the blood bar story is amazing.
Yeah, so essentially, B.R. McKay was an outfit out of I want to say it was Utah.
It was Utah. Yep,
Okay,
Provo, Utah.
Yeah. So out of Provo, Utah, and they did, their thing was recycling X-rays and things of that nature for the silver. Well, in that process, you need cyanide, and at one point, the gentleman was not exactly following health and safety standards, and he ended up getting one of his employees killed during this recovery process. And so, if I remember right, he did like 5 or 6 years in prison for it. And the bars are everybody calls them blood bars, quote unquote, because their logo is essentially like 3 dripping raindrops. And
Well, if you think they're rain.
yeah. So, but that is essentially, why they call them blood bars, because it looks like blood drip. It's the blood of his employee dripping.
And I did a video on this, so if you want to know about it, if you guys are interested in this,
Yeah.
I have a whole video on blood bars. Did it with Tiger Stacker did a breakdown of kind of the there's a lot of conspiracy theory in that story.
Yes.
Governor Norm Bangerter at the time potentially covered the tracks because it could have potentially been tied to the LDS church. So there was a
Ah.
whole lot of conspiracy, and then I broke down the company in Illinois that actually did the refining for how they bypass practices,
Oh,
why the
interesting. You did
person
a
died.
deep dive.
I did, and so if you guys are really interested in the blood bars, that video is there. I'll see if I can find the link and put that in chat. But
Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that.
that
That's
is a
interesting.
fun video. That's a great story.
Oh, do you
See, and
have?
this is why I like intermarrying all of our groups,
Mm-hmm.
is because it's like there's a little something for everybody everywhere. And
Exactly.
you just have to figure out where the good information is in the good places.
Uh,
And it's better that we synergize and we work together.
yeah. Do you have any of the shipwreck stuff? Did we put that in there?
Well, there's a couple of the singles, if that's
Okay.
what you're talking about.
Yeah. Let's see if we can pull up. I mean, one of the ones from the from
Well,
the.
if I want to be selfish,
Go for it. You're very welcome.
It's
Put
your
anything
show.
you want.
I
because
mean, we have taken over, but it's your show.
oh no, I know you taking over, and I'm glad you guys have. I've enjoyed this immensely, but you're talking about shipwrecks, and this is the one that I told Mike. I know you want to go through with stuff like this, but we're talking about this. Um,
Okay, let's go.
where are you?
Ah, okay. We can talk more about that one.
I
Um,
love this set. So you love Seated. My favorite
yes.
designer, Christian Gobrek.
Oh, hands down.
I love what he's done with the mint and being a mint director and some of the stuff that he instilled. And I love the design, not only the symbology that's behind the seated, um, but this is fabulous. And Mike talked a lot about this. I want to get your opinion on this. Again,
Yeah.
sorry, Mike, but I'm going to be a little selfish.
Hey, I'll defer. I will
Yeah.
defer to Russ on this all day long.
No, this is one of my favorite sets. It is so one of my collecting goals is to get every die pair of 1861 O halves. Um, it's doable. It's kind of expensive, but it is doable. But what is so cool about these is, it's through our massive nerddom, through our massive geekness, we can figure out, essentially who struck these coins. They're all Confederate coins, and I think that is it's so interesting to have a coin that could have been made by one of 3 governments in the exact same year, in the same facility, with the same guys doing it. And the half on the left that's the one everybody wants. That's 102. And that's the one that has the die crack from the nose to the rim, which is what they used when they created their own reverse design and struck 4 coins. That they mated that obverse die with their new reverse die. So everybody wants this one because it's pretty much as close you can come to having a quote unquote true Confederate half dollar. And it's so fun. And what I tell people is, learn some of these varieties, because like on the right there, that is what we call a speared olive bud. It's a pretty easy diagnostic. It's the olive bud that the eagle is clutching. There's a couple die lines through it, and you're probably not gonna be able to see it, but essentially, it's pretty easy to call out, and not every dealer pays that much of attention, especially on low grade stuff. So I've even cherry picked a few 1861 Spirit Olive Buds and a couple other different varieties. And so they're out there and you can find them. And that's one of the other parts is that's why I love cherry picking. And that's why I tell people, find one thing that you get good at or you really like and really figure it out because it'll pay off.
Yeah, absolutely fabulous set.
Yeah, and
Um,
the crazy part about this set too is that most of these coins when they come up from the shipwreck, they're pretty rough. But man, the WB or W102, that coin, if they could have saved it just a little bit more, I mean, it is a monster. There is not a mark in the field. It has got luster. If they could have just did a little bit more, that coin would have been unbelievably phenomenal. Now, I will say it is still phenomenal because it has so much just neat history, but whew, it is a smoker.
Yeah, it's about as nice as they get.
Yep. Very, very much so.
yeah, very cool. Okay, what was the next one? And I apologize, I didn't mean to
No, no, not at all.
divert you. You just mentioned
No.
shipwrecks, and I'm like, oh, I want you to talk about this one.
Yeah, I dropped the ball and I apparently didn't get an image. But we have I have another shipwreck story. Um, and this one was a really fun one. Essentially, we work with the Public Guardian's Office here in Chicago. And for anybody that doesn't know, essentially what they do is they help people that are
Oh,
infirm.
damn. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that picture isn't in there. I have to get it
yeah.
in there. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. But so the Public Guardian's Office helps the infirm, the elderly, people that can't take care of themselves, that need help with their care, things like that. And when these people pass on, their estate kind of goes into limbo. So we end up working and buying a lot of the estates and things. And so we bought literally 4 bags, trash bag size of stuff. I mean, it was tokens and metals and clad coinage and foreign coinage and silver and just everything just mixed together. Um, so essentially, we set out the interns at it, and one of my guys comes back and he puts 5 coins on my desk, and he's like, "You think this is something?" And I about fell out of my chair, to be real honest. It's 2 US coins and 3 foreign coins, a bust $half, a seated $half, a Brazilian 1,000 Reese, a Mexican 8 Reale, and a 8 Posti, if I remember right. And
How many
so,
zeros are in a Brazilian?
well, too many Brazilians. But the wreck was the USS Yorktown, which was a ship. It's the first USS Yorktown, launched in 1839. She was a sloop of war, 14 guns. She spent 1840 mostly patrolling the South Atlantic, protecting American whaling interests, things like that. And then she was actually assigned to the Africa Squadron, and they were doing anti-slavery operations off the coast of Africa in 1850 when they hit an uncharted reef and sank. The ship went down quickly, but with no loss of life. All the sailors survived. They had to wait for a month on the island to get rescued, but everybody lived. And the ship was kind of forgotten about until 2000 when a Portuguese company actually found it and started bringing objects up. And they did a sale with Sotheby's. And right after the sale, the Navy contacted Sotheby's and was like, "Hey, that's our stuff." And there had not
You
been.
can't have it.
Yeah, so the law hadn't been passed yet. The law didn't pass until 2003. It's called the sunken naval vessel. God, I can't remember the exact what it is, but it's essentially in 2003. It was made law that sunken American naval vessels are U.S. territory, and that's they belong to the United States. So essentially, Sotheby's worked to try to get some of the artifacts back if they could, things like that. But a lot of it didn't get back, and So I was doing a little bit of research because I don't know about the USS Yorktown. I'm reading, figuring all this stuff out, and I come across an article from the U.S. Navy's History and Heritage Command, telling about the shipwreck and all this stuff, and how they're looking for recovered artifacts from it. So we ended up reaching out, to History and Heritage Command, and we finally were able to get those coins back to them just a couple weeks ago, actually. So they're going to go on display with actually the captain's sword and some of the other things that were recovered in the museum in DC. So it's going to be really neat, and I really hope one day I get to actually go see it again.
So, Russ, in chat, I just dropped the federalregister.gov that talks about the ocean affairs, the protection of sunken
Ooh,
warships.
okay.
There you go.
So if anybody's searching for that, I've already dropped that link in there. They can read up on that.
There was also there was something that we returned to the Navy at Naval Air Station Great Lakes.
Yeah, that was fun. So that was actually from the same wreck. We found that way earlier. It was in the same lot of stuff, and it was a naval cap badge. But it came from the exact same wreck, and we were able to return that one in person. Mike and I went up to Naval Station Great Lakes and gave it back and kind of played in the museum for a little bit. So that was a fun one too.
Yeah.
And that's the one you guys had the media presence on. Is that correct?
Yes, yeah, we got some pretty good media play out of that one, which was fun.
I'm trying to find the little story. I know that Mike has sent me that. I can post that, or Mike, you can post that link in chat if you'd like to. That's a fun story, and I told Mike this is one reason that I love Harlan J. Berk. One thing that I'm about, and I'm ex-Navy, and so talking about military and Navy and all that stuff, I have a lot of these available. That's one of my bags. I love ship coins,
Yeah.
sunken vessels, and stuff like that. But the one thing about that particular story was that it really showed the integrity that is expected and part of the culture of Harlan J. Berk. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, we have good examples. The one of the stories I love to tell, especially about Harlan, is at some point, 10 or 15 years ago, a gentleman or a family, a couple people were coming in, and they were selling documents. This is when we had a document department and we had an expert on staff, and they were selling documents, really, really good documents, really interesting documents, but um, couldn't figure out where in the world these things were coming from. And finally, they do some sleuthing, and they figure out that these are actually documents that were stolen from the State Museum of Poland by their former curator, who then came to the US, kept them in an attic, and his heirs were selling them. Um, and so Harlan ended up, he found this out, and he kept buying them out of his own pocket. He kept buying them until they finally were able to set up, essentially a sting with the FBI. The family didn't get in all that much trouble because they didn't quite know what they had. But all that stuff got returned to the State Museum of Poland, and Harlan is actually an honorary board member because of it.
I thought you were going to say it was an honorary poll.
Yeah, well, absolutely honorary poll as well. But we have good examples. And in this business especially, there's plenty of money to be made. It's not gonna change the course of any of our lives if I sell shipwreck coins, and make a few $1,000s rather than donate them and let everybody else be able to enjoy them and see them. My philosophy with a lot of coins, particularly, is, I'm just a temporary steward of this stuff. This stuff has, yeah, especially in the ancient world, in the world, world coin area, things like that. I'm a very temporary steward of these things. My very much beloved 1861 half is going to outlive me, and someone else is going to enjoy it. I have it for now. It's my responsibility to be a good steward for it, and to, be able to have it preserved for future generations. But money isn't everything. And so that's a thing that we take really seriously.
I love that philosophy. And again, this is something Paula and I talk a lot about when we talk about buying counterfeit coins. A lot of people say, "Well, I have a hole in my collection and I just want it filled so that my book is filled." But eventually that's going to end up back either into circulation or into somebody's hands that thinks they actually have something.
Yep. Very
So
much so.
it's very important. Number one, don't support the counterfeiters. But number
No.
two, make sure you're documenting that kind of stuff and making sure that people understand what you have. And if you want to have something like that, have a place for it where it's clearly marked and,
Yep.
stamped or something like that so that, your kids or your spouse or whomever it is that comes after you doesn't look like a blabbering idiot taking something thinking they have a $10,000 coin that's counterfeit.
Oh yes. Yeah. I mean, that is super important. And actually, Mike says this a lot. Write it down
What,
or
Russ?
no, you always say, you've got to have you got to have it written down, or you got to have somebody that knows what you have. And I'm not talking, gentlemen, about what you told your wife you paid for the coin. um, she does need to know at some point. It's one of those
Okay,
things.
so here's another shameless plug. There's a book out by a friend of the coin show, a friend of mine, Beth Deisher. She works on the ACTF, which we misidentified last night in the show. It's the Anti-Counterfeiting Task Force, and I thought about that about 5 minutes after I said it. And Beth is really big on anti-counterfeiting. However, she wrote a book called Cash in Your Coins, Selling the Rare Coins You've Inherited. And it's a book that the collector goes through his collection and he makes notes in this book about his particular or her particular collection. You leave it with your coin collection always. When you go back, you make more notes, make more notes, make more notes. In the event of your eventual demise, the book is with the coin collection and has notes, and that basically will give them a roadmap on how to take care of it. It's a $15 book, and it's possibly one of the greatest things of all time.
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta prepare them, because, you certainly don't want to do them a disservice.
Thank you, Jack. Anti-Counterfeiting Education Foundation.
There we go.
Yeah, and so we're talking about Beth. Beth is an amazing person. I told you the other day that we're doing a video together, but she's going to be on the Coin Show podcast.
Yes, true? She is. She is going to be on a Coin Show podcast again.
She's been on a couple she's of a neat lady.
She's a real sweetheart. She is one of my favorite human beings, period.
We should talk about that for a second. I have seen a very large amount for our industry of women starting to get more involved, which does my heart really, really good. But it has been kind of interesting. Like, there are a lot more ladies running around out there that are killing it in the numismatic world than there have been in previous years.
Well, Russ, you keep doing videos, you're going to draw the ladies in anyway.
Lord. But no, even with us, we actually just hired a young lady that has her degree in the classics and is a really talented cataloger already.
Yes.
And we've got another young lady that's going to start interning with us that has already been to Stax Bauer's professional numismatic program. And she's a sophomore in college. So not only are we getting more women, we're getting more young people just in general, which is just such a breath of fresh air anymore.
Oh, yes, and we're really getting younger.
Yes,
if you look at the average age of our employees, it has gone down by almost half.
Yeah, pretty close. But what's great is, we're actually able to hire people. There are people interested. We have right now more than a few people that want to work for us, and we just, we can't quite swing it right now. but they are young, eager people. I don't know if it was the pandemic and the collecting thing. I'm not really sure what it is, but that's the thing is like so many people ask me, they're like, oh, that's an old man hobby or blah blah blah. How many young people do that? And it's like you would be surprised, especially now. It's really starting to turn a corner.
Well,
Zach,
whatever it was
Jack
that got
Riley.
Zach on it,
Yep.
Yeah.
whatever it was that got Zach on it, I don't care. I want more of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was just introduced to Zach. He is a smart cookie.
Yes, he is.
It's funny. Okay, so here's part of the stuff about the store. We had a guy come in the other day, and he asked about some ancient coins. And Russ and I are out there. We're answering questions as best we could. We're like, hold on a second. We call Zach out, and Zach is 25, and he is this just fresh faced young kid. He kind of looks like JFK, and he's tall, he's thin, he's good looking, and yeah, Jack is a pup, or Zach is a pup,
Oh yeah.
and so the guy looks at him. He goes, "What, this guy?" And I'm like, "This guy's probably forgotten more about this stuff than I know." And he goes, "No, come on," So it's like goes back and forth all this, and me and Russ just walk away. About what was it? 5 minutes later,
Uh-huh. Yep,
he's like,
we're done.
"This kid really knows his stuff." I was
Yep.
like,
Yes, he
"Yes."
does.
So it's really good to bring new talent in, and one of the things that I think really it's the enthusiasm, Russ.
Oh
You and
yeah.
I both have a lot of enthusiasm for this, and
Oh,
I think it's
absolutely.
contagious. And I think that it works out that way, that we attract more enthusiastic people.
That is very true. And especially the way we operate our shop, we really don't, we don't turn anybody away. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, guys. We've all been in coin shops, and we all know that a large majority,
Get off my
occasionally,
lawn.
yes, are grumpy old men that won't give you the time of day. And you and I have definitely decided that we're not that kind of shop. We want to make sure everybody is welcome. We want to educate as much as we can. And that goes so far. I mean, it really, really does. How many collectors have we made, with kids, randomly walking in and handing them an ancient coin or things like that? And that's another one of those things. It's like, I make the joke that I'm just a crack dealer giving the first hit for free. But it is kind of true. I remember being 8 years old and getting my first coin, and now I'm here. So
I
Yeah,
want to I want to add something to that though, and I
yeah.
love that you guys do this. I don't have, obviously I'm not a coin dealer. I don't work in the shops and stuff like that. But even 50-cent pieces, taking them to the kids at the grocery store, and you pay $1.50 for a soda or something, and they're like, "Well, what is this?"
Oh
And
yeah.
they're like, "Well, do you want one? You've never seen one of those before?" I always take a couple extra. People love the bicentennial halves. They've never seen, kids have never seen these things.
Yep. That's
But
very true.
where we have an obligation, and this is something I know Paula is adamant about. Actually, I think that everybody in this chat knows where we stand in this. There's so much disinformation or
Yes.
misinformation on social media that we have to be careful um, who we, um,
Platform.
yeah, because I guess the problem is if you get somebody interested in the hobby and they find the wrong person up front, you may
Yep.
permanently lose them.
Absolutely. I mean,
And
I certainly don't disagree.
so I think it's, again, Mike has talked about pooling, and this is a conversation Mike and might have had, good grief, a couple times, where it's really important that those of us that are about protecting the hobby really kind of tie together. And hey, we saw this video. Okay, bad coin, kind of close information, right?
Yep.
Paula does this stuff all the time, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and she's like, "Hey, Frosty, great information. You just said it backwards.
Yeah.
Remember, that's in Cuse. It needs to be like this." And then I have a responsibility to remove that, fix it, and then put the right information up. And so education is hard. And so for those of you that You think, you see all these places and you see all these people on. It's really easy to put information out, but put correct information is extremely important. So
Yes.
like I said, I appreciate the fact that you guys do this.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I always say is like I want to be the dealer that I wish I had as a kid. I want to be all the things that I wish someone would have been able to do for me or to help me with. I don't know if you guys know about the ANA's new club for young numismatists. They just started it. It's got some traction. They're even publishing their own magazine. I'm giving them a talk in January. But it's things like that are so important to really give back to the hobby, to do all those things. And that's what I even tell collectors. If you know about something, if there's something you're really passionate about it, write about it, do a video about it. There's no reason not to. Sure, you may be regurgitating some of the same information, but you have a specific insight into things. We're all different, and that's what's so important is that we have all these different experiences. We have all of these different thoughts, ideas, opinions, about everything, and there's no reason that you shouldn't share that because I guarantee you, there's someone that is going to be interested in reading it.
Yeah, and I will give you something that Matt has heard me say, Russ has heard me say, anybody associated with the coin show has heard me say is that yes, it's good to be able to talk about stuff, but you need to be measured and you need to be thoughtful. Because if you say enough things, sooner or later you're going to say something stupid or you're going to say something wrong. And when that happens, you have to be able to take the correction. You have to be able to, stand by it and allow it. Paula corrects me all the time. We still have an argument about one particular picture you have here, and it's like all I care about is that it's sold for money. That was really all it came down to for me.
Yeah.
But if you say enough stuff, you're gonna sooner or later say something is wrong.
Of course. Absolutely. And that's the thing is, it's no, absolutely nobody is perfect. And that's the biggest thing. And that's why but again, that is very much why I like this community is, even you and I, how many times have we been on the counter? I say something, you go, that's not quite right.
Yeah.
And I do it right back to you. And there's
we hold each other accountable that way.
But
we've actually praised each other for doing it.
Oh, absolutely. Because there's no malice,
Right.
Nobody's trying to get anybody.
No.
We're making each other better. And that's what we have to do in this hobby and in this industry. The only way we get better is by putting ourselves out there, making mistakes, learning, talking, commiserating with our fellow weird coin geeks. So,
AKA Frosty.
AKA Frosty.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you both one question. We've got about 5 or so minutes left in this game, but I want to ask you both one question. If you were to give, and I know we've talked a lot about the hobby, the protection of the hobby, some amazing stories. I thank you so much for this. But if there was one piece of advice that you could give to, and it doesn't matter if it's a new collector or a seasoned collector, what is your single most important piece of advice that you could offer?
Let's see. Okay, I've got one. So, there's the old adage, buy the book before you buy the coin. And I really think that is super important. I really think that a lot of people get into a series or get into a certain area and it becomes daunting. And it's easy to make mistakes. So my good example for that is as a kid, I decided I liked Liberty seated quarters. So in, my little brain, I went, okay, I'm going to collect Liberty seated quarters. And then I realized how much of a monumental task that was after several years and a lot of mowed lawns and other physical labor to buy coins that, oh, maybe this isn't what I want to do. Maybe this is too much. Maybe there is no chance of kind of completing this or hitting the goals that I have. So that's what I always say is go in. If you're going to buy a coin, be armed with as much knowledge as possible. If you're going to go buy an SVDB Lincoln raw, you better memorize all 4 mint mark positions. You got no excuse not to. If you're going to drop coin like that, you got to be knowledgeable. So for me, it's buy the book before you buy the coin, and have that toolkit ready, because that's how you're going to be able to really get deals and things. Mike and I say it all the time. We like informed customers. I want my customer to know as much as possible, because that's how you can actually, do a real actual deal with somebody. So buy the book before you buy the coin.
If you ask me, I can't agree more. I think that is the greatest piece of wisdom in the hobby. But there's a kind of like a tail side to that coin, and it's not the opposite advice. It's just also really good advice, and that is know your blind spots.
Yep.
Know what you don't know, because that will keep you from making mistakes of hubris. So,
yes.
if you're humble about it, there are certain things and really well. That's great, but know what you don't know, and then seek out information in those cases, or seek out help and get better at it.
Yeah, and my good example is one with you. Mike is really talented at looking at like proof Franklins and things, and some of the modern stuff, and he can pick out this is cam, ooh, this should deep cam, things like that. And it is so far outside of my wheelhouse. It's just not what I do. And so that's why I have a guy like Mike, because that's what he does. He knows his stuff about that. And thankfully, I don't have enough hubris to pretend like I do know what it is. So
yeah, but you know about more important things like seeded stuff. So
not more important, just different.
It's just a love fest every day, all day.
Every day.
So the one piece of advice I always tell people, when you're buying, whether you're buying silver, gold, whether you're stacking, whether you're investing, whatever, is a piece of advice that my grandfather gave me, and that is to act, don't react. Reaction has emotion involved. Take your time. Do exactly the piece that you said. Do your research. Know what you're looking for ahead of time. If you get into a place where somebody has high pressure sales tactics and they're telling you, buy it now, go, 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 they're evoking your emotion. Try to pull your emotion out of it as much as possible, and really take time to go, can I afford this? Is this a wise move for me? Is this something that really speaks to me? And take your time and actually take the emotion out of it as much as possible, and then make a decision. You will have less regret by buying something when you've taken time to research it, validated it, than you ever will buying something out of FOMO or out of an emotional reaction. And so to tie those two things together, I think, again, know the coin, buy that book before you buy the coin, have an understanding of what you don't know, surround yourself with people. It's an extremely great thing, right? And this is where Mike has told us a number of times in the last couple of streams, right? Folks like us have to stay together. We have to make sure that people know where to go, have a good network. And then the last one is take emotion out of it as much as you can. So I think this has been a lot of fun. It's been very informative. Russ, I can't tell you how much I have appreciated your time. I will tell you this. You and Mike are right at the exact same number of views yesterday and today.
Yeah.
But
goals.
I've got 20 subscribers and 20 gifted memberships. So Russ blew you out of the water, brother.
No, that was all Matt. That was all Matt.
No, Matt was very gracious. And again, thank you so much to the Coin Show podcast for all their support.
Yeah, I'll announce my presence with authority. Yeah.
If you don't have Harlan J. Berk, Russ Bega, um, Aaron Burke. If you don't have the Coin Show podcast, Ancients with Aaron. If you're
Russ, do
not
you have a
subscribed to
website?
those channels, go subscribe because they are a wealth of information. And as you've seen today, some really good fun guys.
Russ, do you have a website?
I don't, other than
We need to fix that
hjb.com.
because you do a lot of writing. So
Uh,
there needs to be a place where we can publish that. We need to fix that.
we'll get there one of these days.
It doesn't take that much. We're going to get you there faster. I'm going to push on this one.
All right, all right.
Everybody in chat, if you'll do me a favor, please, if you're watching in the vertical screen, double tap your screen. Make sure you're smashing that like. If you're on the vertical stream underneath, please make sure that thumbs up. We haven't even got to 50 likes. All that's kind of shameful. But Russ, Mike, thank you so much for the non-hostile takeover.
Anytime.
I
This was
appreciate
fun.
that. You guys are welcome back anytime. And I've told Mike this. Harlan J. Burke has an open door to my stream. If there is something that you guys want to talk about, you guys reach out, let me know. If you guys have a story that you want to drop, you guys want to talk about something specific, you guys hear about something that's wrong that you guys want to correct and show the verification or proof of, you have an open door here. So I
Awesome.
appreciate you guys. And again, that goes for all of your staff. So I appreciate
Absolutely.
you all.
We appreciate you. Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, we really appreciate you, Frosty. And I want to drop another shameless plug for Ancient Coin Podcast with Aaron Burke. It's on YouTube on youtube.com/Aaron Burke. And also the Coin Show podcast. Here's the thing is we do the Coin Show podcast every Saturday night now. Okay, so it's not going to be a numbered episode every week. It's 1 week we do like just more of a hangout, a question and answer thing. It's more loose. It's not necessarily an episode because we don't do the news and all the other stuff that goes with it. But we still have all the just discussion and talk and fun and stuff like that. So make sure that even on the weeks where you hear we don't have a Coin Show podcast, come Saturday night, hang out with us, 8 p.m. Eastern.
Righty.
All right. Well, they say if you're ever in public speaking to picture the audience naked, ladies, stop it. I'm just kidding. All right, folks. You guys have a wonderful day. Russ, Mike, thank you so much again for being here. And